Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk about Call of Duty Season 2. We've just had Season 1 reloaded, which I think might have been one of the worst updates in terms of content of all time. I mean, for Warzone, we got the new night vision gulag, which I've still never actually seen in a game, which is a bit crazy. But anyway, let's start looking ahead to Season 2, and I'm going to split this video into two halves. So in the first half, you're going to have things that I'm expecting to see in Season 2. Now, you know me by now, I'm not interested in data mines or leaks or anything like that, so it's all going to be based on official things that they've released, as well as a bit of speculation. And then in the second half of the video, we're going to be talking about things that I want to see in Season 2. Things that I'm hoping for, things that I think would be good for the game if they came out. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leaving a like on a video is super easy to do, and it does make a difference to the algorithm. So please leave a like and consider commenting at the end of the video with what you're hoping to see in Season 2. So first of all, when is Season 2 going to come out? On the current Battle Pass, it says today that there's 16 days remaining, which would put the beginning of Season 2 on February 7th, which is a Wednesday, and that's when Call of Duty season updates come out. But normally the season updates are sort of mid-month. They normally come out around 15th. So I guess we'll see. Season 2 will be out either February 7th or February 14th. Just in time for Valentine's Day, you know, might be nice for them. And let's kick it off with things that I'm expecting to see. So these are things that I think are likely based on what we already know from the Call of Duty social media channels mostly. So first of all, Rebirth Island, I think is a pretty safe bet for Season 2. We already had a tweet from, I think it was Beanox, were tweeting about it with a picture of Rebirth Island. So we know we're going to be getting it. They've told us a long time ago that across this year, we're going to be getting Rebirth Island and Fortune's Keep again. And I'm a little bit conflicted over this, to be honest, because I am excited for both of those maps to come back. I think Rebirth Island is fantastic. Fortune's Keep is probably my favourite Warzone map that we've ever had. But it isn't really new content, you know. When we were excited about Rebirth Island in Warzone 1, even then it was a bit like, oh, well, this is just Alcatraz from Blackout. You know, we already played on this map before, and it felt very familiar then. This time, I'm kind of expecting Rebirth Island to be a complete carbon copy of what it was like before. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. I'd love for them to have made a few changes to things that they think need changes. Although, to be honest, the map was really good, so, you know, maybe it's not worth changing something for the sake of it. The big, really interesting thing for me, which I'll be looking at as soon as this launches, is there a new Easter egg? The original Rebirth Island Easter egg, the Red Room, was my favourite Easter egg that they've ever had in Warzone. It took us like 8 hours to solve. It was a lot of fun, like trying to find all of the different briefcase locations and then finding all of the different codes, putting them together. It was something that was fun to do over and over again because you'd get different briefcase locations, different codes every time. So you kind of had some variation in it. It took you all over the map. I just thought it was a really cool thing to do. Like, if you were communicating well, you could do it super fast, you could get really good at it, but it was definitely possible to do solo, and you got a cool blueprint reward. That Red Room Milano, I thought, was one of the better rewards we've ever had. The second Rebirth Island Easter egg wasn't as good with the Golden Vaults, where you just had to go around all the prison cells and find the little radios. That one felt a little bit random. It led to some cool fights in those prison cells, but I don't think it was particularly interesting. There wasn't much of like a puzzle aspect to it at all. So it was okay, but I just didn't enjoy it as much. So what are we going to get with the new version of the map, with the new version of Rebirth? I'd kind of like it if they just put the Red Room back in. I'd love to do some more of that. But I'm really hoping that they'll add something new. I'm hoping that they will have been working on something. I know the team at Beanox do enjoy doing these kind of Easter egg type things. You know, it's weird. When people talk about all of the Easter eggs and stuff, I always hear people talking about what Raven's doing. But Raven don't really do much with Easter eggs in Call of Duty. I feel like most of them have been done by, you know, Beanox or by High Moon Studios. They love putting loads of stuff in them. Or the original ones were done by Infinity Ward. I feel like Raven haven't ever got to grips with Easter eggs properly. So I'm always excited when there's a map by one of the other studios, because there's a higher chance of us getting something really interesting. Also, on that tweet about Rebirth Island, we saw there was a perk case with a skull on it. This is Specialist, so for anyone who doesn't know, the Specialist bonus is another set of perks where you get all of the perks instead of having to choose them. Obviously, it's super rare because otherwise it'd be really unbalanced. But when you do get it, it feels awesome because, you know, you get every single perk. It makes you super powerful. You'll have Cold-Blooded as well as High Alert, as well as Ghost. You'll be able to run around the map without being seen. It's just a really, really cool thing to do, especially because it is so rare. When you do get it, it kind of leads to some cool gameplay moments and sort of enables you to be a bit more confident maybe about pushing and stuff like that. It would be really cool if kind of Specialist was the reward for doing an Easter egg, because that would obviously get a bit more interest in Easter eggs and stuff like that, which is always really good for me. If you had to do something and then it dropped Specialist at a few locations around the map, that would be super fun. I'm kind of hoping for something like that. Now, in terms of what else we're getting for Warzone, it's kind of hard to say. Like I was saying earlier, bringing Rebirth back, that feels like it's a big enough thing for a season update by itself. But it is a bit of a shame that it's not a new map. Like, this is just a map that we've had before, and we're going to be getting back again. You know, it's not a bad thing to get Rebirth back, but it's a shame that it's not something new. So what else could we get that would probably be new? Obviously, we'll get a couple of weapons. I was laughing with chat earlier about whether we'll get a new bolt-action sniper rifle that has higher bullet velocity than the Cat AMR. You know, like after they've just managed to nerf it. Is it the Cat AMR? Am I saying that right? I can't remember what the letters are at the end of it. You know, the bolt-action sniper rifle that's one-shot. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they nerfed that one and then they bring out another one that has exactly the same problems as the first one. I don't think there's any kind of conspiracy theory, sinister stuff behind it, but that is kind of what they did with Season 1 Reloaded, where they finally nerfed the WSP Swarm and then introduced a new SMG that has the exact same problems as what the Swarm had in the first place. It feels a little bit silly, it feels a little bit as if, okay, you're just fixing one problem, then introducing the exact same problem back into the game, and I'm guessing it's more of a different departments not working together rather than a big grand plan by them. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a new sniper rifle because we don't have that many. In terms of other guns that I think that we'll see, it's kind of difficult because we just have so many guns right now. Like, there's so many weapons in every different category. It's hard to imagine what sort of interesting things that they could bring in. I'd quite like to see something like maybe a new interesting launcher or something like that. Just something a little bit different. Something that maybe makes people play in a slightly different way would be really cool. But I'm really struggling to think of any types of weapon that Call of Duty needs right now. Let me know in the comments below if you can think of something. I'm not really interested in, oh, there's this real-world gun that's a slight variation of one of the 100 guns that we've already got. But if there's something really different you can think of, I'd be super interested in hearing that. The ballistic knife would be nice, as well as a tomahawk, because I'd love for them to reintroduce sticks and stones. So yeah, that'll be my answer. I want them to bring back the throwing axe and the ballistic knife, so we can go back to sticks and stones. Then on the multiplayer side, obviously we'll get some multiplayer maps. I feel like we've had quite a lot of small to medium sized maps, so it'd be quite nice to get a couple of bigger maps in the game, especially in terms of, you know, new fresh maps, because we had all of those maps that were for Modern Warfare 2. So it might be nice to have something a bit more interesting, a bit wackier. I'd like to see them return to some dynamic map elements, you know, things like that train that would go through the map on, I've forgotten what that thing's called. Was it called Platform? Something like that. You know, that map that has the train that goes through occasionally. Stuff like that was kind of cool. I used to love it in games like Advanced Warfare, where you had stuff changing on the map, like stuff moving around, doors opening and closing, things like that. I think something like that, just to have a bit of variety within multiplayer, would be super cool. I'm kind of done with having a big 3-lane map with a building in the middle. We've got quite a lot of maps that are like that. I don't think we necessarily need a bunch more that do the exact same kind of thing. Then finally, in terms of what we expect, I think we'll probably get another party mode, you know, another returning mode. I feel like because it's Sledgehammer, there's a chance that we could get Prop Hunt back, which would be really cool. I'd love to be able to do that. All of the different party modes, like, I really enjoy them for when we do custom games on Friday nights. We do a community night every Friday night. It's a lot of fun, and being able to play things like Gun Game is just awesome. Or being able to do quirky things with gunfight, team gunfight and stuff like that. So we got infected with Season 1 Reloaded. That was a lot of fun. I'd love for them to do a few new things like that. Again, maybe just bring back some old modes like Prop Hunt or Sticks and Stones would be amazing. But anything at all like that would be really cool. And so now we move on to the things that I want. So things that I'm maybe not expecting to see, but I'd love it if they manage to do it. And the first one is an actual full set of new Zombies missions. I made a video last week talking about how I think Zombies could be done based on Treyarch tweeting about it and a couple of other things. Go check out that video if you want to see the full discussion on why I think Zombies might be over already. But I'd love to be wrong about that. I'd love for them to just come out with loads of new content for Zombies. And for me, I feel like to get people back into it, it would have to be a content drop like it was when the game came out. So like 3 acts full of missions, maybe time gated so you get like a few per week across the season would be perfect. And then maybe bring the Zombies to Rebirth Island as well. If that map's coming out, have some new missions that revolve around Rebirth Island and maybe a different style of gameplay around then. Every time I bring up zombies on this channel, I always bring up the idea that maybe PvP could be a good idea, and every time I get a bunch of comments of people being like, no, zombies doesn't do PvP, that's not what zombies is about, it would never work, blah blah blah. And I mean, personally, I think that's a load of rubbish. I think it's a good thing for them to try different ideas, and I still think if they can't give us a steady stream of content for zombies, the next best thing would be to try and add a little bit of variety by having us fight other players. And maybe they could do something like Rebirth Island is the PvP MWZ experience, where you go in and yes, there's going to be zombies, but there are also going to be like 3 other teams, you know, like Building 21 or something, that you have to watch out for or potentially fight. That could be kind of cool. I don't know. I'd just like it if they had Rebirth Island for it to have something a little bit unique about the gameplay there. And finally for zombies, I'd love for there to be some kind of progression like what they added to DMZ. So with DMZ, they added this kind of craftable progression system where you could be like, okay, if you manage to extract with all of these items, you'll be able to go into the next game with more plates. Or maybe you'll have a shorter exfil timer or something like that. I think that could be kind of cool, just have some kind of long-term goals to work towards, a reason to try and loot within zombies, and, you know, maybe have some of the rarer items in the tier 3 zone, so there's a reason to explore around there. I think that could work even better for zombies than it does for DMZ, because often in zombies, you don't really want to be looking around inside buildings, because that's where you get trapped, and that's where you get those kind of tense moments. And right now in MWZ, there's not many reasons to go into buildings. Like if you're doing one of the contracts maybe, but most of the time you can just kind of avoid them. I guess the infested buildings as well. And that's where some of the most dramatic, exciting moments come from in MWZ, is those kind of things where you have to go in and pop all of the spores in the infested strongholds. That's a lot more exciting than just running around in an open field where you can easily control the hordes of zombies. Moving on to multiplayer, the big thing I'd like them to change is how custom games work. They added the ability to use lobby codes, which is amazing. We run custom games every Friday night, and the lobby codes make a hell of a difference. But it'd be nice if they fixed all of those custom match options, if they let you ban certain weapons or items, if they let you force a specific loadout in every mode. All of that stuff would make such a difference, and have a button where it just randomizes the teams. That would be amazing, make it much easier and much fairer than having to do it manually. In Warzone, I'd really like for them to add ranked back. I know there's problems with cheaters right now, and there's been lots of various issues that people have been complaining about, but I think ranked was just a fun way to play where you can see your kind of skill level, you can see how good you are, and you can see that progression of you trying to move up through the leagues. I think that's a lot of fun, and I want it back sooner rather than later. The fact that they took it away was kind of irritating. I can kind of understand why, but it'd be nice to get it back. And I assume that we'll probably get it in a Reloaded update, because we got multiplayer ranked in the last Reloaded update. But I'd just like to see it as soon as possible, to give me something to work towards while I'm doing those streams where I'm trying to get better at Warzone. And then finally, this applies to all modes. I'd really like it if they just overhauled the audio entirely. It'd be really nice if footsteps were like the clearest focus thing, unless maybe a kill streak is literally right on top of you, then maybe have that so you could kind of do a push where you use a kill streak to cover the sound of your footsteps. But it'd just be really nice if you could hear people running up behind you. That's kind of the main thing I would like them to fix. They said that they fixed it for this patch. I can't tell any massive difference, to be honest. It would be really nice if they worked on it. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, what you're hoping to see from Season 2. I'll have a read through and maybe we'll do another video where we talk about some of your ideas for Season 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.